All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I see we have a few people already joining us. We're going to be starting just in a few minutes. In the meantime, would be really great to see where you are from, where you're listening this webinar from. And we're going to just get started in a couple of minutes. Sorry, I just enabled the chat for you, so you should be able to add. Yeah. I see we have more people joining. Welcome, everyone. Let us know where you're from. Germany. I see we have people from Germany, Frankfurt. That's nice. I've been there once. I really like the city. London, Phoenix. We are going to give this just 2 more minutes. Wait for everybody to give everyone the opportunity to join. And then we're going to kick off this webinar. South Africa. It's great. If you just joined, I was just asking where you're from, where you're listening this webinar from. You can also feel free to share if you want, if you're a product manager, where you're working, anything you feel like sharing. Atlanta, nice. Just 1 more minute and we're going to get started.
Just returned from a great trip in Atlanta. Had a lot of fun. Got a Braves game, got some good barbecue.
Oh, I'm jealous. One more minute, guys, and we're gonna be starting. I mean, right now it's only 12, so probably people are still joining. By the way, South Africa, what time is it there now? All right. Oh, all right. Just a few hours of difference, not much. All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm Tati. I am going to be moderating the webinar for today. I am Senior Marketing Manager here at Craft. And we're going to be talking about a really important subject today, that is sharpening your product strategy from OKRs to roadmaps. Today we have a really, really interesting session, and we just wanted to let you know that this session is being recorded and we're going to be sending out to you at the end of the webinar. And yeah, I mean, any questions, please feel free to add it to the chat box. We're going to refer to the questions at the end on the Q&A. But in the meantime, I'm really, really happy to introduce our speakers and hosts for today's webinar, Greg and Ronnie. Please, if you may introduce yourselves.
Hi, everybody. My name is Greg Bayer. I'm Managing Director at Silver Ridge Advisors and really looking forward to the conversation today.
Hi, guys. My name is Ronnie. I'm Craft.io's CPO and one of its co-founders, and it's a pleasure being here.
Thank you. Now, Greg, I think just take it away.
All right. Thank you, Tati. Welcome, everybody, and very excited to talk about this topic today. Very passionate about it, and let's dig in. So for me, I'm managing director at Silver Ridge Advisors, which is where I lead our product management and digital transformation consulting practice. I've been in various product management roles and operational roles for over 20 years at companies such as Rakuten, Sony, Omnicom, Nielsen, Thomson Reuters. And currently I'm teaching part-time at General Assembly's product management course. I'm here in Brooklyn, New York, and why don't we dig in? So in kicking off this type of topic, I always like to start with a number, and here the number is 28%. Mooncamp did a really interesting study, which concluded that the most successful companies have a 28% higher communications intensity. Now, don't be misled. Intensity doesn't just mean more meetings and saying things the same way, louder and louder. It means more efficient and more meaningful communications, right? Simple, informative, honest. How do you make sure that your message and your planning is landing with your internal teams and stakeholders? So this is a topic that a lot of times people say, well, why should we care so much about communicating internally? Shouldn't I care more about communicating with my customers and getting their requirements? Shouldn't I really dedicate all my time and focus there? Well, it's a complicated answer, but it's important to spend some of your time, a good amount of your time, collaborating and working internally. We do this to get the internal support, excitement, and trust behind our product. If we share the right way, we get the space we need to move quickly and spend that time with the clients that we want to spend with. And we also get the feedback, right? It's very important not just to collaborate, but to get feedback after the fact from your internal teams and have that constant dialogue. An important part to the intensity, and it's in this study more, is the objectives and key results framework, also just known as OKRs. This is used by organizations to define and track goals and their outcomes. It was originally popularized by Intel in the 1970s, and then later adopted by companies like Google and John Doerr, and you've probably heard some of the really interesting case studies there. OKRs are, and every company has a slightly different flavor to it, but in essence, they're designed to create alignment, focus, and accountability within the product teams. And this is what we're going to really sort of talk a little bit more about. Before going forward, we want to move to a poll here, and Tadi's going to launch a poll to ask, what are your biggest challenges with OKRs?
All right, I hope you can all see the poll. The options are resistance to OKRs as an added burden, struggling with monthly reviews and check-ins, and delayed alignment from top to team. I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds. I see 60% of you already answered. We'll give you just a few more seconds. All right, we're gonna end the poll in just 10 seconds. So if you want to add your option. Okay, so we got 43% of resistance to OKRs as an added burden. So, and then followed by struggling with monthly reviews and check-ins as the 30%, and 28% delayed alignment from top to team. Greg, was this the answer you were expecting?
This was actually, when I ranked the bullets and I'm looking at them, that was the order I expected.
Yeah.
And just to add, and I think we're going to, hopefully we will talk a little bit, you'll get this from the presentation, but, addressing the first point, resistance to OKRs as an added burden, I think this is very common. And I think this is a challenge that, companies can make this framework as complicated as they want to, right? And I think the goal here is, what is the essence that we're trying to get out of this framework? We just want to really create consolidated focus and accountability behind what's going to move the needle for the product team. And so I think what we're going to dive into a little bit more is, how do we keep this as a helpful tool and not something that people roll their eyes as heavy overhead? That this is just really something that's going to help guide your strategy. Excellent. Thanks for that. Let's talk a little bit more about this, right? Now, before digging into OKRs, one thing I want to call attention to is articulating your vision, right? It is critical before, as you're thinking about strategy, before going into OKRs and roadmaps, what is your 5-year vision? Here, what you're seeing is a screenshot. I've set a fictitious HR B2B software solution inside of Craft. And think of this as like a company like a Workday. And these are the key elements of a vision board that I found to be most effective with defining the vision with my stakeholder partners, right? So you have your vision statement, which is concise and inspiring. You have your target customers, your biggest customer problems, some bullets about what your product solution is. What are the big assumptions you have out there? And then finally, what are the KPIs that you're going to be tracking? It's important to debate this, to discuss it, and then write it down to make sure everyone can see this, right? This is going to be your tiebreaker as you continue and journey across your year. And it's essential to get this done. I always like getting this done before the calendar year is over, so that people can come back from the new year and have this imprinted as a North Star. It will significantly help your focus and strategy. So as I said, your vision is about 5 years, right? It could be 3 years, 3 to 5 years. OKRs are goals that speak to the outcomes you want to drive over the next 12 months, right? It's important to put these, to write these effectively, because they are going to drive your near-term work. And as you think about OKRs, it's important to think about them as translating that vision into strategy and actions, right? It's important to really whittle down your few critical objectives. It's not meant to be a laundry list. It's meant to be a very simple focus, and then create that discipline and accountability so that across your product team, people are picking up and driving different elements of your OKRs. Right. And again, I know we've talked about, you've probably seen this, but I like to think of it very simply as, that objective is a broad, ambitious goal. It should be inspiring. And the key results are that metric, that number that is going to tell us when that elements of the objective has been achieved. So again, like what you did with the vision, it's important to write it down. And here we're looking at the screen in Craft where I've put these in. I have 3 objectives. I have a couple of KRs within each. And you can see, right, the things that I care about, the things that I want to track is, who's it assigned to? Is it on track? What was the initial baseline of the metric? What is it currently? And what is my target, right? Those are the most important things I want to track each month and weave this into my narrative around how is my product doing? And as you can see, right, these are examples, but there's numbers in each of the key results. They're meant to show, the first one, for example, become the most exciting and talked about HR software system, right? What does that mean? How do I translate that into some sort of metric? So the things that I've seen people struggle the most with are actually, well, writing the exact objectives and key results. And what I'm going to take you through are actual real examples of before and after versions that I've worked with my teams before. So the first one here, increase the number of licenses within our existing customer accounts, expanding the addressable use cases and user audiences via complementary solutions, right? Not very inspiring. It's a little wordy, but you kind of get what they're going after. But again, it's a mouthful, right? And it's hard to really know what that means. 2, prove the product is the most effective distribution partner for sellers, becoming the most well-populated online storefront for corporate solutions. All right, well, it's a little better, but still mouthful. 3, strengthen product's foundation to support new SLAs, streamline customer experience, and understand user behavior and sentiment. A little bit of a laundry list on that one, right? Looking for that powerful, clear statement. So how do we make them better? For the first one, let's translate that into create new opportunities for our clients to find complementary services in a simple and easy way, right? I'm taking things out of that first objective, condensing the language, and I'm focusing on the customer outcome here. 2, offer our clients the best and most broad set of third-party services, right? Again, writing more doesn't mean that it's better. I often find simplifying the language is the harder tactic that actually becomes more impactful, right? And this one, it clearly defines the intent. And finally, elevate products' reliability to maintain customer trust and simplify their experience, right? That one really inspires what I'm trying to do. It gives me a rallying cry around, how do I make this more trustful and simple for my customer? So the objectives are hard, but if you get the objectives right, then the key results can be a little easier. And let's take a look at 3 before and afters on some of these key results. First one, enhance core value to support customer retention and referenceability. All right, but again, I'm not seeing a number here. I'm not seeing how do I know if I'm doing this right? 2, release enhanced centralized and decentralized pro forma editing and automated billing workflow. Right. That's something I always see, that key results are dependent on a release. Software release doesn't necessarily mean you've moved the needle on a customer outcome. So we have to think about this differently. And then 3rd, launch the ability for customers to share a discount code to encourage subscriptions. All right, it's important, right? But again, how do I know how I'm doing with that? So how do I improve this? For the first one, how about rewriting this just simply as achieve 90% customer retention for the year, right? That's telling me that I am enhancing the core value. That's the number I've selected. The second one, right? I'm talking about the billing workflow and making the billing workflow easier for my clients. How about just improving the time by 15 minutes, right? Again, it's a very specific number, something I can track and measure. And then finally, break this one down into 2 different key results. The first one is 100 customers use the discount code share capability. And the second is this code drives 10 new customer subscriptions, right? So again, I'm showing outcomes here. I'm showing a clear accountability to a number. And I've decided these are the KPIs I care about. And hopefully these KPIs came from that vision board we talked about. So once we have our OKRs in place, it becomes much easier to define now our roadmap. And the roadmap is a fluid document, right? It is something that tells my product story and vision. It communicates my priorities and sequence. It's a tool that I use to drive alignment across my teams. And it categorizes work into themes, which can tie back into goals, right? So again, our roadmaps are meant to serve the OKRs. So they are meant to be fluid, right? The work I'm doing this quarter is going to be typically locked, but I'm learning and I'm changing, and I have maniacal focus on moving my KRs forward. So a good roadmap will have multiple views depending on who your audience is, right? You're going to show your roadmap differently maybe to your executive team that you would with your working product team. But one thing that I always enjoy and find effective is showing the roadmap view by objectives. And what this does is it's tying my work very directly to the two-step strategies that I had before: my vision, my OKRs, and my roadmap. And you can see in this, and again, we're looking in Craft where I have my my roadmap here by quarter, and I have that first objective, become the most exciting and talked about HR software system. And I'm looking at the different activities that are supporting that objective. Now, this is also a nice way to just check, right? If there is work that's slated that can't correlate to any of your objectives, then you're thinking, well, why is this here? But you also want to, I think what's important, and you can see on the left navigation, right? You can show this by objectives, you can show this by themes. There's different ways, but this is an important way. And finally, with all of these artifacts in place, and that you're constantly iterating this as a product manager, you want to make sure to communicate and share this often, right? You can do this. There's going to be formal presentations, but you also want to have those side conversations where you're talking about it, you're showing people, you're making sure they have access to this information, they can find it on their own. You want to emphasize what's changed in the past 30 days. What have you learned? What are some of the tweaks that you're making? And again, you always want to stress these key dependencies that you have, these assumptions that you laid out in your vision. How do you mitigate risk against those dependencies? And so together, that story and these visuals will really help lead your strategy and your success internally to give you that capability to spend time with your customers and drive success. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Roni, who's going to walk you through some of the capabilities inside of Craft.
Just before that, thank you so much, Greg. That was really insightful. I see people already adding questions to the Q&A for you, Greg. So
Okay.
I just wanted to address that we're going to answer all of them just at the end. So keep adding your questions and we're going to be answering them. Thank you. And then Roni, please take it away.
Hi, guys. So thanks, Greg, for a great talk. And what I want to show you, and I'll share my screen right now, just a second, is can you guys see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Yes? Fantastic.
Yes.
All right. So hi, everyone. So what I want to show you is how we work in Craft.io with OKRs. And so Craft.io is a platform for product managers and for product teams. And in Craft.io, you can both add your work items, such as your initiatives, epics, and features, and your OKRs. So in Craft.io, we had a new OKR solution. So I'll quickly go over here. So in this view, we can see the objectives and key results. Now, in this view, we have a new set of OKRs that you can first of all, you can add all your objectives and key results. So you have that objectives and the various key results are nested below the objectives. And now what is interesting is first, this is like a rich database for OKRs. So you can assign an OKR to a team or to a person, you can add it to a quarter, and you can also enrich the data of OKRs with custom fields. So in this example, I added regions. So I can mark what each objective and key result to where does it belong to. Now, one interesting thing that we've seen with several of our customers is that they have They want to do exactly that, to enrich the, like in a spreadsheet form, to add more properties to the different OKRs. Now, in addition to writing those OKRs, what we can do in Craft.io is also to prioritize the OKRs, because at the end, you may have several good candidates for OKRs for a certain quarter. So, but with Craft.io, you can also do the whole prioritization process. And over here, so you can add this field of OKR importance, and then you can define what is the importance of each one of the OKRs, and then you can decide what would you put as part of the quarter, for example, of Q3. Now, last thing that you can do on OKRs is you can measure and you can track and you can measure its progress. So first of all, you can just check with the health, and you can also look at the outcomes. So for example, if I have click purchase increased by 10%, so, and then I can add that the initial is 0, the target is 10%, and now the current one is 7%, is 7%, and then it calculates the OKR's progress ratio for me. So if I change it to 8, it will change the ratio accordingly. You can also measure it manually, just make your scores. Now, with Craft.io, what you can do, you can connect your outcomes, which are the OKRs, with the outputs, which are the work items, feature epics and such. So for example, you can relate OKR epics and features to a specific objective. And later on, you can show, first of all, your working items as part of a big roadmap that you can put the swim lanes of for. So each objective, you can see what are the roadmap for this specific objective. And in addition, you can also show a roadmap of your OKRs. So these are the OKRs set for Q3. Now, last thing that you can do is you can measure the outcomes. So if we look here, over here we have the objectives of Q3, and now I can measure the progress calculated automatically by the progress of the related items of your epics and your features, and you can see what is the current progress of the related outputs to these outcomes. And you can also drill down to see what to have more information about the progress. For example, over here we see that 67% is done, but actually out of if we look at the breakdown by importance, we'll see that actually the high one and the blocker ones are fully completed, whereas it's missing some low and medium one. Last thing that I want to show you is what we see in here is OKRs on the workspace level, meaning suitable for a product team or a group of product managers. But sometimes you would like to have company level OKRs, and with Craft.io, you can do that with our portfolio solution. So in what you see here, it's a portfolio that aggregates 3 different workspaces. And over here in the OKRs, you see that we have company level objectives, which are connected to the different objectives of different workspaces or product groups. This allows you to actually plan your OKRs top down. You start from company level OKRs, and then you break it down into team level OKRs as emphasized by the objectives which relate to a specific workspace. So that was just on a shoestring to how we implement our OKRs on the Craft.io platform.
That was really great. Thank you so much, Roni. All right, we have a couple of questions for both of you, I think. So the first question is, all right, key results. I think, Greg, maybe this one is for you. How do you define numbers to reach when you don't have data on the current state of things?
Yeah, that's a great question and very common. And I made the mistake once of saying, well, let's put it in and as an aspiration, and then it'll help us drive us to get that number. We'll find a way. And it never happens. And so I think what you have to be careful of is starting off with a key result, even if you can't get the ideal number. Like, for example, if you want the customer retention number, but you need your data team to get you things in they're backed up. What are proxies that you can use until that data becomes available? Surveys, there's other little hacks that you could try and get to that will allow for you to get some signal until that is ready, but make sure you have something on hand when you start.
Thank you, Greg. We have another question for you. How do you address developing OKRs when there is a disproportionate focus on the who versus the what?
Yeah, and I think that was why, I think it's really important to start with that vision exercise, because if you start from you create that vision, it's hard to go just cold into the OKRs. If you have a vision, you know what you're trying to achieve and the big ambitions you have, then moving to that 12-month, it's going to be, okay, what are the outcomes we want for our customers and for our business? Right? So it's not really even about who or what. It's just more about the outcomes we want to see and what we want to realize in this first 12 months.
Yeah, that makes sense. Another question is how many objectives per team and how many key results per objective make sense?
Yeah, it's another good one. I like to say for my product team, I like to keep within 3 to 5 objectives and then 2 to 3 key results per objective. And I try to get to 3 objectives. If I can get 9, 10 key results across the board, think about that. That's a lot, right? If you want to drive 10 metrics, that's a lot that's ambitious on its own. So you have to really, I would side more with keeping it smaller than larger.
I would, sorry, if I may add, I completely second Greg, and I would say that we need to remember that one of the most important thing about OKRs is focus, is about focusing the team. And if you would have 10 different objectives, it means that you won't have focus on your team and you're missing the point. So as Greg said, 3 to 5 objectives are really great. Try not to exclude team members. This is also important that they will not feel left out, but 3 to 5 and 2 to 3 KRs, it's a great number. I completely second that.
Thank you. We have another question. I think, well, probably for both of you, how can I manage OKR alignment when I have to wait for company and CPO OKRs, sometimes like until February or a long period of time?
Yeah. That's also a common issue. And what I like to do is what I've tried in the past, which has worked. I would sit with my CPO and I would say, look, I know we're going through a company process, but I want my team to have this locked or at least close to locked by the end of December. How do you feel about this, right? I know you're in development. Are these somewhat aligned, right? And then maybe they get tweaked in January, but I think I don't like to wait for the whole chain because you're right. Otherwise, you're in February and you've wasted 2 months of the year. So I try to get them sooner, but I try to get some sort of guidance from my CPO or CTO to help with that.
And if I may add, guidance from the CPO is great as importance, but we need to understand, we need to also realize that not all the team OKRs are directly inferred from the CPO, meaning you might have team level OKRs about personal or team development, for instance, just for an example, that are not directly being related or derived from the company level OKRs.
All right, we have a couple more questions. I think we only have time for a few more. How far in time should you plan OKRs and KRs? Working more than KRs per quarter, than 3 KRs per quarter is already enough if we aim for focus, but should we define also the KRs for the next quarters? I hope the question made sense.
Yeah. I strongly suggest that when you do this, you plan your objectives and key results over a 12-month period of time in total, so that you don't break out quarter by quarter, because this is a lot of time to collaborate and define this. It takes a lot, a number of back and forths to get there. Make them stick for the whole year, and be flexible enough that if things change, maybe mid-year, maybe you go back to a key result and you say, we should maybe tweak this, but the objectives should be durable for the whole year. They really should. And that's what I've seen work best.
Okay, thank you. We have just the last question, and I think we can wrap it up. How can I balance roadmap changes without frustrating stakeholders who have made commitments to clients?
Yeah, that's always a hard one. I think you have to be careful about communicating your roadmap as here's what's committed and here's what's in discussion, or here's what we're considering, right? And you need to have partnership with product marketing to help give the story to your commercial team in a full picture, so that they're not focused on a feature in their communications. They're focused on the story about what this is going to do for their business, where the product is focused on improvements. If there is a feature that is 1 or 2 quarters out in consideration, you have to make sure the sales team is not locking that into a customer conversation, and that they have other materials to talk about that generate excitement.
All right, I know I said was the last one, but we have one more that I think it could be interesting. What are some common pitfalls or mistakes to avoid when implementing OKRs, and how can teams overcome them?
I think you need to make sure that you have the right stakeholders that you're talking to, right? So as a product lead, you want to make sure that as you're setting your product team OKRs, you have someone from design, from engineering, from product marketing, from maybe even sales. You want to get the right people in a room and spend the time up front in crafting what these should be and the language and metrics that you want to use. But then at a certain point, right? So that one step is important, but it can also, I've seen it continue to spiral and go on for, potentially days or weeks. So you do need to know, as a product manager, you do need to step in and say, okay, either we're good or we have to, this is going in circles, so I'm going to make the call. Let's lock it here, right? You need that discipline, but you need to spend the right time up front too.
Thank you so much, Greg. And Ronnie, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, just only one thing, that when you're defining your key results, one very important thing to do is to make them clear, in the sense that it is very clear for everyone if you achieved the key results or not. I mean, if you are defining a key result, when you have a team of people and they look at the key result and they want to say the status, and some of them will say, yeah, we achieved that, and some of them will say, we're not. So this is not a good KR. A good KR is something that is really, really, really clear if you achieve this or not. And you should do that before, of course, before you start the period of time, the quarter, to make it accurate.
Thank you so much, Ronnie and Greg. I think these were really, really good questions, all of them. So thank you everyone that participated. Greg, Ronnie, have anything else you would like to add before we wrap up?
Thank you for hosting. And I know that I'm I've given Tati a couple of slides to share as scratch work before you go in. How do you start crafting some of these things, maybe even old-fashioned pencil and paper? But good luck to everybody with this, and please connect with me on LinkedIn and share thoughts and stories as you go.
Maybe Greg, you want to share your LinkedIn details, or how they can contact you if they have
Yes.
questions.
Let me just put that up here. Here's my info. So you can find me on LinkedIn.
Great. Thank you both so much. Thank you, everyone. As I said before, we're going to be sharing this with you very soon, and we're looking forward to seeing you in our next webinars. And have a great day, evening, wherever you are in the world. And yes, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Renee. Thanks, everybody.